On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I discuss the MLS PIN settlement and what that means. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson. Hi, everybody. This is Greg, and I'm really happy to announce that we have a new sponsor for Industry Relations, and that company is Zenlist. I've been tracking these guys a while. It's a great new mobile application. You can do search, tour scheduling, chat, client collaboration, listing input, all from any mobile device. These guys are pretty cool. They've got about 100,000 agents across the United States. So please visit zenlist.com to schedule a demo. So if you're an MLS exec, you got to check this out. Visit zenlist.com to schedule a demo. And once again, my thanks goes out to Zenlist for sponsoring Industry Relations.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your co-host, the Notorious Rob Hahn. And as always, with me, the fabulous Greg Robertson. Woo!
Hola, Rob. How are you?
Hola. I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm excited. I'm leaving for a family vacation tomorrow. We're going to the UK. We're going to be about 6 days in London, and then going to do a tour of Scotland for about 6 days. So
sounds fantastic.
Very excited. Yeah, very
fantastic.
Excited.
Please come back with like a really nice, thick Scottish brogue. I think that would be awesome.
It's going to be a great day. I don't know. I'm half Scottish, I guess, so the Robertson part, and
sure.
I'm going to be the weirdest looking Scotsman out there. So we'll see. We'll see if they accept
before
me.
we dive into our topic, I'm just curious, since you are Scottish, or at least, whatever, you have Scottish, family. Do you have like a clan colors?
Oh yeah. We got our own plaid, right? Or, whatever they call it. So I've got a couple scarves like that. There's a picture of me in front of a Christmas tree when I was like 4 years old with a little blazer my mother made me in that same thing.
So I'm just putting this out there. When I see you at Inman Las Vegas, I really want you to wear the Robertson clan colors in your kilt.
Yeah, in my kilt. Yeah,
I think we need to see Greg Robertson in a kilt. If you're listening, and please comment. Send emails if you want to see Greg Robertson in his family color kilt.
Not going to happen.
Hey man, kilts are awesome in Vegas, in the summer. Nice and cool.
I guess is there real, I'm still, I don't know enough about him to like, what is the protocol for the undergarment of a kilt? I think it's nothing.
You are going to Scotland, so maybe you could ask them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. In any event, I know we're a little pressed for time, so we're going to try and get one in before you have to take off. And I do believe that there's lots going on in the news, but clearly the biggest news item is the settlement by MLS PIN. Which,
yes.
I've written about, you've already talked about, but you and I haven't talked about it. So I'll start by asking you, what'd you think of the settlement?
Well, you wonder what was going to happen with these things. I don't know if the MLS settling individually was really on my bingo card. Was it on yours?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So that's kind of the interesting thing about it. So that just like, it made me think like, maybe that's something also that we can you extrapolate this on to the other lawsuits that are going on there? What does that look like? Right.
Yeah.
I think I had the same reaction as you, although, you were saying that you knew that from your experience working with multiple listing services that they had a lot more reserves than that. And that's MLS PIN is a quite a large MLS, but they're a broker-owned MLS. And a lot of times I feel those broker-owned MLSs kind of refunded it back to the MLS, to the brokers. So maybe that's part of the thought process there. And then, you had a great post about this where, I think some of the language that they used in regard to how they're going to kind of change the policies and rule sets of the MLS are problematic.
Very much so.
And I think we'll probably see some adjustments or revisions to those as they go forward. Yeah, because it is a complicated matter. Sometimes people don't understand the unintended consequences of some of the things they're saying there, which makes me think again. It's like, why are we going through all this stuff? It's just like a lot of times it's like, it's working, you know. And again, I keep on saying this. Hey, if you don't want to pay that much commission, go to a discount brokerage. Everybody has choices. Why are we doing this, right? But I mean, I'll stop yelling into the pillow there.
Yeah. So let's start with the most obvious, like the big picture, like because Inman's headline was this, right? That MLS PIN threw franchisors onto the bus, right? There is a question as to whether the brokerage divisions of Realogy and Home Services, right? So Remax doesn't have like corporate company-owned brokerages.
They used to. I'm not 1,000% sure about that, but they used to have what Remax they call a core.
But I think they have
company-owned regions. They used
to. Right? So like master franchisors. I don't believe Remax has corporate brokerages. Keller Williams, I don't believe has any company-owned brokerages, although Keller Williams executives sometimes have ownership stakes in brokerages, right? But that's very different. Whereas Realogy has, like actual company-owned brokerages. Yeah. One of the largest NRT divisions or regions is New England, right? Which is MLS PIN.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that they are a shareholder. So it's unclear. The way that things are written, because they don't say like Realogy brokerage division or whatever the title is, the NRT, they renamed it, right?
Right.
And Home Service America as well, we know that they have company owns. So number one fact is we don't know whether those brokerages are covered under the settlement or not.
I mean, and again, I guess I would say you do know. I mean, if it's broker owned, if it's a broker owned MLS and they are indeed a broker, not a franchisor, right? But the broker record is a member of that, then I think they're covered. Now, franchisors are a whole different story.
What I mean is what the settlement language specifically says, the shareholders of MLS PIN are covered unless you're a defendant. So the question is, when you have sued Realogy corporate and Home Services America corporate, are their company-owned brokerages covered? You know what I mean? Are they part of the defendants?
Are they? Is it a separate legal entity that they've set up? I gotta believe so, but you're right. There's probably some clarification that has to happen there. I mean, I do know that MLS PIN is interesting in their leadership because when Kathy left, a broker took the reins who was on the board there, and I think it was and I believe he came from Coldwell Banker.
He came from NRT New England, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
What I heard from a reader is that most of the board, that a lot of the board at MLS PIN are from, Realogy and from Home Services, right? Which makes sense. I mean, they're the two largest brokerage. They're the two largest real estate companies, right, in the country. So that's number one. The question that I've had, and I've asked this, and I just wanted your take on it. Do you think those corporate defendants are invited into the settlement or not? What's your take on this?
I don't think, first of all, for them to be invited into the settlement, I don't think there's any cooperation, right? So it's not like, I don't think like, hey, MLS PIN is calling, whoever, anywhere going, listen, we're about to settle. What about, you guys want to come in on this? Right. I don't think any like that happens, right? So based upon that,
I don't know, man. A lot of times when you're defending a lawsuit together, you're not joint, but you're going to collaborate to some extent, right? At least the lawyers may talk to each other, right?
That's true.
So that's my biggest question.
But it's like it's almost like those cop shows where it's like, hey, if you're the first one to get a deal, you're going to get the sweetest deal, right? So
that's right.
There's a strategy to say, get my deal done.
That's right.
And I'm going to get the sweetest deal. Let them deal with what they have to deal with later.
That's right. So, but that's my question, because in other words, if it was MLS PIN say, hey, we're about to settle, hey, Realogy, hey, Home Services, Keller Williams, Remax, do you want to try and come in on the settlement? And they said, nah, we're not interested in settling. Or is it like they did the deal and then Realogy Remax, like, because there's an emotional difference between the two, right? Like, did the corporate defendants know that MLS PIN was about to settle? Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I'm not sure what, if we knew either way that would change anything else out there. Now, I think what this does now is it is a red flag, or it is a signal that these other lawsuits that are going on. It's like, okay, well, shit, this is in play.
Exactly. Right? I'm asking that question. Right.
Yeah, this strategy is in play. Right. So how do we adjust in that type of thing? I don't think there's anything wrong with them not letting them know. I mean, for instance, if a Keller Williams or a Cole Banker was, providing scripts that were, proved to be, unfortunate.
Yeah, problematic.
Problematic. Then, every man for themselves, right? I mean, you got to, the MLS PIN has got to watch out for their membership. They're not beholden upon. I mean, what would be? Let me ask you this. I mean, what would be the advantage of MLS PIN reaching out to anywhere saying, "Hey, let's go in together on this," right?
I mean, the only advantage is that the brokerage defendants, the corporate defendants, would not be livid and pissed off at MLS PIN. So you're livid right. Look, MLS PIN.
I can't believe they're livid and pissed off. It's just like, hey, they got to. They took that's their strategy. They did it. I think in the article that I read on Inman, it's like they're still in a position of like they want to vigorously defend this, right? So,
really? I mean, okay, well, maybe.
I believe that's what the quote was. I could be wrong.
No. What I mean by that is like so imagine the MLS PIN did not notify them, didn't let them know, right? And their settlement basically is we're going to give $3 million to the lawyers so they could continue the lawsuit against the corporate defendants. And we're going to collaborate. We're going to help, right? We're essentially going to, quote, turn state's witness and testify and help the plaintiffs do discovery. You're telling me that if you're Gary Keller, you're not pissed off about that? If you were not told. If you were not told. If they say, hey, Gary, here, we got to do what's right for our members. This is what we got to do, right? Just letting you know, like,
that's another thing that's weird about this. It's like, what, that first part you talked about where the $3 million is going to help them go after the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, why? I mean, why make a statement like that? It's like, to me, it's like, hey, we settled for $3 million and we're going to help out, and we're going to like cooperate with them.
Right.
Why that first part that like, and this is going to help us. It feels like a little knife turning there, doesn't it?
No. MLS PIN did not say that. Let's be clear about this. MLS PIN did not say that.
Right.
The lawyer said that.
Yes. But I mean, why? I mean, there's with these kind of settlements, I think you can kind of say, listen, nobody's admitting guilt. This is a settlement. There's some sort of confidentiality around what the terms are. I don't know if this was all on purpose, or is this they just like, okay, great, give me the $3 million, and then they ran with their own kind of narrative that they wanted to.
No, so the issue there is this, right? Because this is a proposed settlement. First of all, let's be clear about this. It's a proposed settlement. The judge has not approved the settlement. That is important, right? The judge does not have to approve this.
But as you were saying in your article, it's very rare that they don't.
It's extraordinarily rare because judges don't want to do additional work, right?
Right.
So the reason why the lawyers had to talk about it, again, it's not like the lawyers did a press release and did a, jab. This was on the court filings, right? And what the lawyers now have to do is convince the judge, like, hey, here's why you should approve this settlement. And in the course of that, what they're saying is, look, I know $3 million doesn't seem like a whole lot. It's not a lot, but MLS PIN has no money, right? They're poor. And this is kind of the best we could do.
Oh, $3 million is $3 million. I mean,
dude, the potential damage is $10 billion, right? So $3 million is, like, relatively speaking, it's bupkis. What I'm saying is the lawyers had to tell that to the judge to say, hey, we're going to use most of this $3 million to fund the lawsuit against the other defendants. That's going to recover a lot more money.
Yeah.
That's why they said it. It wasn't to jab anybody. Like, they need to have the judge go, yeah, I approve of this. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I love having these kind of conversations because the context is, when you put it that way, it makes me think of some other things. I mean, a lot of this could be basically, again, some gameplay.
Sure.
Right. Where they're trying to signal to the rest of these guys, hey, motherfuckers, settle. Right. Because we're going to be doing this, and that. Right. So
there's no question.
They're just putting that in there to, like, to prod the rest of these guys. It's not looking good for you. Right. Well, I mean, that
at a minimum,
thing,
it's this, right? like a lot of times what ends up happening in like these lawsuits, right, is the defendants are very wealthy and they have big giant law firms, right? And they'll just kind of wait it out. Because the plaintiff's lawyers, because they're not getting paid, right? They're all doing this contingency. They have all these expenses. They have to pay the lawyers. They have to pay expert witnesses. They have all these expenses, and they're just like, we'll just starve you out, right? So now the lawyer could be like, guess what, motherfuckers? We just got a $3 million cash infusion, and I think they have to pay some of it. So it's like 1.6 million will be left after.
Yeah, because what they're getting paid, whatever, right? Yeah.
But it's like, now we have $1.6 million. We can now take this for another 2 years, right? Do you want to settle now, or do you want to keep fucking with us?
Yeah, like, it's really just, I mean, I remember when the breakdown there, it's like, this is all so attorneys can get paid, man.
There's no doubt.
This has nothing to do with like,
there's no doubt.
Oh, sellers have been screwed in real estate forever. No, it's how do I get paid?
Nope. Good Lord. I wrote that. All right. So listen, the reason why I bring that up is because what you asked, what does this now do in Sitzer or Burnett? Right? What does this do in Merle? Right. And the reason why I was asking that question about did MLS PIN talk to, at least notify the corporate defendants? If they didn't, those 4 guys are being sued in every lawsuit. Right? They're being sued in Burnett. They're being sued in Merle. If I'm Gary Keller, I have to at least have do we just flip now?
Yeah.
Because if we don't, look at what MLS PIN did, right? Somebody else could flip, and now we're, right? And same thing. The same conversation will happen
at the very least.
Every executive suite, right, of those 4 companies. Like, hey, do we just settle? Do we just flip now? Right? And that is a game changer for the other 2 lawsuits. That's why I'm asking that question. Versus MLS PIN went to them and said, listen, we're going to settle. We have to do what's right for blah, blah, blah. We don't have that much money. You guys have a lot of money. We're going to do this. You know, do you want to come in on this? And they said, nah, it's fine. You know, we understand. We get you. Like, there's a very different emotional and political vibe to those 2 outcomes. That's why I was asking the question, what do you think happened? You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, it seems like NAR has been recently cutting checks. I won't go into that, but to avoid certain things.
Get away! Maybe. Like, I ain't touching it. Get away!
Yeah, I know. Maybe NAR flips state. I mean, maybe those guys just like, you know what? We've got the most to lose. It is in the end of the. I think I've always said it's at the end of the thing. It's just a money grab, right? From these guys. I don't think these attorneys give one iota about, you know, MLS fair practices or some shit, right?
Right.
But they can, you know, they can come back and say some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of policy change that makes it look like that, oh, we've made some real difference here. And get the maximum they can from NAR there, right? I mean,
And I think I definitely want to talk about the policy changes, because there are some angles to this that I think people are just not thinking about. And this is good because this is basically practice for the webinar I've got coming out on Monday. Obviously, this episode will air after that, so you know it's not like I'm promoting the webinar on this one. But let's move on to one other aspect, and I think we might want to do this in 2 parts because I know time is a little whatever. I've been asked, and I don't know if you've been asked, what does this MLS PIN settlement now mean that we'll get a similar settlement in Burnett and in Merle, right?
Right. I think we've been talking about that, right?
My take is I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so, right? And again, I'm going to talk about this on Monday, because when I think about MLS PIN is able to do this because MLS PIN, broker owned, right? They were the only sort of nonprofit entity that was sued, right? And I guess they're not nonprofit; they're probably for profit, but whatever, right? And they don't have anyone else that they have to protect. Do you know what I'm saying? Like MLS PIN is not an NAR, it's not a realtor MLS. They're broker owned. They settle. They don't have anyone else to protect. NAR, I don't think NAR can settle without protecting the state and local realtor associations and without protecting the MLSs.
Right. Well, so I mean, with any settlement that they do, is going to encompass that. So no matter if they go sued all the way through, it's going to be encompassing that. So I don't know if it's that big of a stretch to say that the settlement would also include that, right? So, yeah.
And the issue there becomes, if I'm the lawyers for Sitzer, we can always sue. You know, it's one thing to say, hey, we're going to let MLS PIN off the hook, right? It's completely different to say we're going to let NAR and the state association and all the locals and all of the MLSs. We're going to let them off the hook. I'm not saying that the lawyers in Burnett and Merle wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that the price tag will be much higher.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, much, much higher, of course. Right. But, I mean, you've always said that though. It's like any sort of thing that has to happen has to encompass everybody, or you're going to get these 1,000 flowers bloom, as you say, right? So they've got to have something that kind of stops that for sure.
So that's like right now where I'm at is I don't think an MLS PIN type of settlement is possible in Burnett and in Merle. Because to your point, NAR, if they're going to settle, NAR has to protect everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Right. But let me pull that thread. So, I mean,
sure.
I thought what you're saying is it could be that type of settlement. I think it could be. It's just going to be a much larger settlement. Right. So that's, I mean, there's a difference there, right? You're saying it couldn't. I'm saying, no, they're not going to do it for $3 million. Not even close. But they're going to have to do for some amount, right?
And the problem is at that point, the amount starts to climb up into the billions.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if there's a number. Right. Plus, here's the last thing.
There's a number. There's always a number with these guys.
Let's touch on this because I do want to do the rules and the impact of the rule changes because I know that's a really important thing. Let's do that in part 2. You know, maybe we'll kind of tease people and say, hey, tune in next week. We'll talk about this. But so the issue there is NAR as who they are, like, you know, the membership, like, you know, we're the National Association for Realtors and all of that stuff. They actually, I don't think NAR can throw franchisors and brokerages under the bus. I just don't know if that's possible, right? Because again, let's look at, say, Burnett. If you look at kind of who's been co-conspirators, it's like every franchise, every brokerage who's operating in Missouri. If NAR were to do a deal, it's okay, you know what, guys? We're going to settle. Say it's a larger amount, $100 million. We're out. State associations out. And local realtor associations and the MLSs are out. We're covered under the settlement. But every brokerage and every franchisor and every franchisee in Missouri is still on the hook. I don't think that's politically viable for NAR in a way that I think is very different for MLS PIN, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of the other thing. Reason it's all symbiotic. You know, Remax, you know, is a vendor at their trade shows. I mean, everything is tied in together. And then you know what you made me think about. Maybe we can wrap on this, and we'll talk about that later. Is how the fuck did like the portals get out of this? You know, it's like they're these paper only brokerages. They don't have to deal with this stuff. Public companies and the guys that are out there conducting real estate just get left holding the bag. I mean, there's got to be some thought process or some sort of thing like that. So I don't know if that's crazy. That's genius or what, right? But
it's just look, the answer is real simple because the portals don't have anyone that listed a house. They didn't help anyone sell a house. Right?
Yeah, but I mean that just goes back to the whole thing of like what brokers complain about is that they're
I get it. Now, hold on. But we got to point this out. Of the portals, Redfin is very much on the hook.
Yeah.
Because they're broke.
Sure. But you know, that's less of a, I mean, it's a portal, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. I get you. All right. Listen, let's wrap there. And we're going to talk about the rules, some of the policy changes in the MLS PIN settlement. So tune in next week for that discussion. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, everybody. Listen, content is everything. Two Brothers Creative makes it look easy. Right now, business owners really only have 2 options. The first option is hire a big firm. Now, this big firm's going to come in, make you think that they invented all the algorithms, and start charging you thousands of dollars every month. You don't want to do that. Second option is to do it yourself. Well, that means you got to learn SEO, SEM, copywriting, marketing techniques on the web. you should be really focusing on your own product. But now there's a third option. It's called Content in a Box. Give Two Brothers Creative 30 minutes a week and they'll handle everything. Plus, they'll show you how to bring it in-house later on. They'll rebuild your marketing foundation and give you tools and techniques and a new marketing playbook that'll actually produce real results and help you grow your business. Two Brothers Creative will give you the confidence and know-how to tell the SEOs and SEMs and all those other acronyms to get fucked. You're in control now. Get started today at thecontentbox.com.